the Phantasm,
I want you.
and faces his greatest danger.
Can't be too careful with all those weirdos around.
Mask of the Phantasm was released on December 25th, 1993. It had a budget of $6 million, and the opening weekend it grossed $1.1 million. It had a total gross at the box office of $5.6 million. This seems very low considering the high praise it has from fans. It is considered one of the greatest Batman films out there. The production company was Warner Brothers Animation, and the distributor was also Warner Brothers. It was the first movie based on Batman, the animated series, and it is also the first feature-length film of the DCAU, the DC Animated Universe, as well as the only one to receive a theatrical release. The film was directed by Eric Radomski and Bruce Timm, and the writers were Alan Burnett and Paul Dini. The film was only released for a very brief theatrical run, since the producers did not anticipate high receipts. But the film received high praise from fans and critics alike, and word spread, and it soon became a sought-after film. Upon release on home media, the video found a wider audience, and is now considered something of a cult classic. Given the favorable reception, the producers expressed some remorse that they had not tried to market the film more aggressively before the theatrical release. During the film's early development, the film was going to be called Batman Masks. It was, however, changed to Batman Mask of the Phantasm during production. Because it was a feature, the movie featured scenes of violence and some mature content that could not have been shown on the original series, the Batman animated series. Some of these instances included Batman throwing punches directly at opponents' faces, punching some of the gangsters in the face and you can hear the impact, Andrea kneeing Joker in the groin during a fight in his hideout, Batman bleeding after getting caught in an explosion at the construction site during his escape from the Gotham police, Batman kicking Joker in the face hard enough to bloody his nose and knock out one of his teeth. So the film did differentiate itself from the series. It was a little bit more mature. And although Alan Burnett intended to tell a story far removed from the television show's regular rogues gallery, they did include the Joker in this story from the very beginning. But they wanted to be cautious and not make a connection with the Jack Nicholson version of the Tim Burton Batman film, because it was so popular and they wanted to do their own thing and distance themselves from that film. The plot and the story are very straightforward and simple, and easy to follow. Batman is fighting crime in Gotham. He is mostly going up against mobsters and counterfeiters, and a new vigilante emerges. And this is someone with a scythe-like blade for a hand, a mechanical voice, and a cloud of smoke that follows the figure wherever it goes. The police and the officials are outraged that this vigilante is murdering mobsters and taking justice into its own hands. They mistakenly think that the vigilante is Batman because they look remarkably similar. Meanwhile, Andrea Beaumont returns to town. She is a lost flame of Bruce Wayne, and back in the day, she is one of the reasons that Bruce actually put on the cowl and became Batman. It's a year 2 type origin story that is explained in a flashback of how he becomes Batman, which is very rarely seen. I think only in this Mask of the Phantasm and Batman Begins do they actually do an excellent origin story of Batman. The Joker enters the story and is now hunting down the vigilante to annihilate him and to find out who the mysterious person is behind the costume. In a climactic showdown at the Gotham World's Fair, the Joker confronts the Phantasm and Batman also arrives, as we have a three-way standoff to find out what is behind the mystery. Okay, on the right we have Kevin Conroy doing the voice of Batman, and on the left, Mark Hamill doing the voice of the Joker, just like on the animated series, which they fit so perfectly, and they continue that role in this film. On the left here, we have Dana Delaney doing the voice of Andrea Beaumont, and Hart Bachner on the right doing Arthur Reeves. And then we also have Stacy Keach on the left doing the Phantasm and Carl Beaumont, and Abe Vigoda doing Salvatore Valestra, the gangster, and he is from The Godfather, right? The music is composed by Shirley Walker, who also does the music on the animated series. She has done many film scores and themes. She's worked on the Final Destination movies. She's worked on True Lies, Mystery Men, Escape from L.A., Batman Forever, Johnny Mnemonic. She's done many orchestrations and conducting throughout her career. The story seems to be greatly influenced by the comic book Batman Year 2, which was written by Mike Barr. It was originally in Detective Comics 575 to 578, and it had a vigilante in it named the Reaper, which had a personal connection to Bruce Wayne. So it's a very similar, somewhat of a concept, but this is definitely a new spin on that comic book story. The Phantasm is an original creation to the DC animated universe, but he did appear in the comic books. The first appearance is Batman Mask of the Phantasm #1, which was a comic book that simultaneously came out with the movie. It was a one-shot that came out in December 1993. There was also a promotional mini-comic which was included in the VHS tape, which was released in May 1994. The second appearance of the Phantasm was in a sequel. There was a sequel in the comic books. It was the Batman and Robin Adventures, the annual #1. And this was the sequel to Mask of the Phantasm. This came out in November 1996 and was written by Paul Dini. So he was associated with that. And to finish off the trilogy, the Phantasm then appeared in Batman Beyond Universe #13, Mark of the Phantasm. This finished the trilogy that began with Mask of the Phantasm and continued later on with Shadow of the Phantasm. Batman Beyond Universe #13 came out in October of 2014, and that was written by Kyle Higgins. Alright, I wanted to do my review on Batman Mask of the Phantasm. I thought it was an excellent film. I don't know if it's the best Batman movie, but it's definitely top 5 and definitely worth watching. The movie moves at a very fast clip. Immediately, we have the main villain shows up, and as Batman is stopping counterfeiters, so there's action right away. This movie wastes no time, and there's a lot of twists and turns, a lot of keeps you guessing kind of thing, and there's a nice love story too with Bruce Wayne and Andrea Beaumont. I don't remember many Batman movies doing his origin story so well. Batman Begins does it, and this movie does it. But other than that, it's more like in the comics, Year 1. But I don't remember a lot of people doing it as well. I think any kind of movie with Batman, with the occult, seems to work really well. So in this movie, he seems to be like a ghost, and we're trying to solve the mystery of this occult figure. And we don't know if it's a phantom, if it's this ghost, if it's a spirit. And that kind of thing always works with Batman in his story arc. It makes me think of the Court of Owls in the New 52, the Scott Snyder run, where they were very much like the Illuminati. Any kind of conspiracy or ghost or occult kind of story arc works well with Batman. And I think there's no difference here. This works really well. The mystery is a nice story engine. The mystery and the ghost story is a nice backbone to keep the plot moving. It moves very, very quickly. And the addition of the Joker keeps things moving also at a nice clip. I know a lot of people maybe say the Joker doesn't need to be in this story, but I think he complicates the plot a little bit, and maybe it needs that. Maybe it's a little too straightforward. The Joker adds some twists and turns and some complications and makes it kind of interesting. I think it's a lot better than the live action movies that are out there, like the MCU or the DCU. I think those budgets are so large on those live action movies that they have to make back those budgets. And the movies are very watered down. They have to cater to the fourth quadrant, and they have to make all their money back. So I think those movies are more designed by committee, whereas the DC animated universe, they very much have a point of view, and they have an introspection and a voice of an individual, and they have a personality, I think, more. And they can be more aggressive and take more chances and be more interesting. I think than a lot of the superhero movies that are out there. The Phantasm as a mirror image, a darker version of Batman himself. Like Batman is right on the edge of becoming a reckless vigilante, just like the Phantasm. I also love the idea of the Joker and Batman fighting in a miniature Gotham at the end, where they have become so obsessed with themselves that they're now chasing each other through a miniature Gotham, and it's all they can see is themselves. They've become these kaiju, these monsters running around the city causing havoc, and their obsessions have taken them over and outgrown themselves. They're so large. It's kind of an interesting, nice little metaphor. Now, in the beginning, also there's a love story in this with Andrea Beaumont and Bruce Wayne. That works very well also. And I love the themes and the metaphors of their relationship as they're going, in the beginning, they're going on their first date in the World's Fair. And the World's Fair is beautiful and immaculate and full of promise and potential, just like their relationship. And at the end, when they return to the World's Fair, it's rotten and decrepit and falling apart. Internally, it's all black, just like they've become, and just like their current relationship has collapsed. Now the World's Fair is doomed, just like them. It's very much like the climax is, and the movie itself is very film noirish. There's lots of flashbacks, and there's lots of flashback scenes where they go back. There's lots of flashbacks, and those scenes last very long. They go backstory into certain characters and backstory on story arcs, where it jumps back and forth, very much like film noir. And in particular, the climax of this film is very much like Orson Welles' Lady from Shanghai, where in that movie, they're running through an abandoned amusement park, and Orson Welles runs into a broken down funhouse and into a house of mirrors. And that has been homaged many times in movies, in James Bond movies and thrillers and other modern action films. And this movie does the same. It's very reminiscent of that film, where they're running through the World's Fair. It also reminds me of Carol Reed's The Third Man, that also starred Orson Welles. And in that movie, the climax, he's running through the sewer system, where his morals have become below civility, and he's like a rat getting chased through the sewer systems, which is a nice metaphor and similar to the themes in this film. And I like that the Joker has chosen not to visit the World's Fair, but he lives there. This is his place. This broken, run-down, rotten place is where he lives. And he even has a domesticated wife, which is heartless and brainless, like a robot. And he orders it around like one of his thugs. So that's another interesting metaphor. A lot of people say they don't think the Joker should have been put into this film, but I didn't mind it. I thought he complicated the plot and added some twists and turns and made the story go sideways a little bit. I thought it was interesting, and he sped up a lot of the plot elements. So I enjoyed having the Joker in this film. It gets tied up nicely. The ending is like a triple entendre ending, where the love story, the mystery of the villain, and the Joker story all get closed in the same set of scenes for a nice emotional wallop, a nice impact. It ends very quickly too, so the story and the movie has some teeth. It ends on a really fast pace, fast clip, and you're almost taken aback by what has taken place. So I would definitely recommend this if anybody who hasn't seen it. The movie is like 30 years old, so I'm assuming that most of you guys have seen this film. But I just thought I'd run a review on it, and let me know in the comments below if you think this is the best Batman movie, or if you think Batman Begins is another underrated film. If you think there's another movie that you like, let me know, and maybe we can have a discussion in the comments.
This Christmas, for the first time, America's most exciting and legendary motion picture hero comes to the screen like you've never seen him before.
The Bat!
In an all-new, larger-than-life feature film. Now, the Dark Knight confronts his newest and most menacing villain.
Your angel of death awaits.